Hey guys, so today we are doing another tier list, my favorite videos to film. I've done so many at this point, I'm definitely running out of ideas. So if you have any, please let me know. I will have a playlist linked down below with all of my tier lists because I've done so many. They're just so fun to do and my categories never make sense to anyone because they're expecting a traditional tier list. We're not here for that. Those are a little bit boring in my opinion. I'm pretty sure it was my friend Veronica who first suggested this idea of a tier list to me of ranking horror movie locations and settings. I will have an example for each and every horror location that we're ranking today, and if those movies are not streaming in your country anywhere, you can't find them anywhere online, that's not an issue because today's video is sponsored by NordVPN. A VPN is really helpful in today's online world because it makes hacking close to impossible. It protects your data and privacy with their double data encryption, which means that you remain completely anonymous while you're using the internet. But also, of course, my favorite way to use a VPN that I tell you guys about all the time is that you can access any country's streaming service selection with just one click on NordVPN. It's so easy. All you have to do is click on the country that you want to connect to, refresh your streaming service, and it's like you're in that country with access to all of their streaming service selections, including their entire horror catalog, so you will never run out of things to watch. And you can use it on up to 6 devices with just one account, so all of your technology is protected. Go to nordvpn.com/possessedbyhorror to get the 2-year plan with an exclusive deal plus a whole month for free. It's completely risk-free with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. Okay, so we are going to be starting off the tier list with 4 different categories. I just think 5 would be too many. So yeah, let's start with the first category, which is going to be the top tier. I'm going to call this one Take Me There. These are the locations that I want to visit or just experience. Why aren't we doing an enter? Next tier, we are calling Too Obscure. You know, this is the underrated category, underdone. These are the locations that I wish we had more horror movies set around. I'm also describing these locations like you would actual locations. So these are the obscure locations, the ones that are a little bit harder to find. Next up, we have Overpopulated. These are the overdone ones. These are the ones that I want to stop seeing. I want to make this 2 words because overpopulated it's a long word. The last category are the worst horror locations, either the ones that I would never want to visit or just the ones that I think they should stop making movies around. I'll explain each one as we go, but this category is going to be titled Nightmare. I like how the fonts slowly, gradually get smaller and smaller as well. I hope you can read those. Okay. First category we are starting with, these are in no order, obviously, they're just random. We have the grocery store. I think this is a great setting for a horror movie because you'd think there would be comfort in a horror movie taking place in a grocery store because you have all the supplies you need, so it's really not that scary. And I know exactly where this is gonna go. Too obscure. You can't read that at all. Hopefully you don't skip around in this video because you will not be able to read what the other ones are without me explaining what they are. Because can you even see that? Can you see that? Anyway, the example here that I have is The Mist. I think that's a great one that takes place in a grocery store, convenience stores too, just stores in general, not malls. We'll get there. But specifically grocery stores. I love any scene that revolves around a grocery store, pharmacy, those kind of stores. So I think it's too obscure. I think we should see some more horror taking place there because comforting, you know, the comfort of a grocery store with the juxtaposition of the horror going on outside. Next up, we have the woods. This would be a nightmare in a real situation because what the heck are you gonna do? But I absolutely love the woods. So please take me there. I can never resist a horror movie that takes place in the woods. They tend to be some of my favorite movies of all time. The example here that I have is The Ritual. Blair Witch Project was a little bit too easy, but of course that's a great one that takes place in the woods. But any kind of forest, woodsy area I'm gonna love. I want to go there so bad every single time. It is so beautiful. It's probably top 3 settings of all time in any horror movie. Next up, we have summer camp. You know, there aren't that many movies that take place in summer camp, but I'm gonna put it in Nightmare. They're not overpopulated. I mean, technically, right? They are overpopulated. They're annoying, but nightmare situation. I don't want to be facing a horror movie surrounded by my peers. I just don't think I would be the kind of person to have fun at a summer camp personally. That just seems like a nightmare situation for this introvert who can't even get a moment of peace, even while sleeping, because all the beds are out in the same room. Can't do it. And I really don't enjoy movies that take place around summer camps, besides maybe Friday the 13th, of course. You know, Sleepaway Camp, not really a fan of that movie. I liked 1978 Fear Street, which is the example I have here. That one's fine, but generally I don't gravitate towards them much. Spinal Girls is another one. They're just not my favorites. Not my favorite setting. Next up, we have shopping mall. Like I mentioned before, this of course is from Dawn of the Dead, the remake, which I love, early 2000s. Goodness. Again, shopping mall has a very similar vibe to grocery stores because there's everything that you could possibly need in a shopping mall. There's beds that you can sleep on. So I think it's a great location for a I can't speak today apparently, a horror movie to take place in because, you know, they have a lot of safety. But again, the juxtaposition with the horrors going on outside. It's still a bit scary though to think about being trapped in a mall like during an apocalypse or anything like that. Like, it's comforting because there's everything you could possibly need in an apocalypse there. I'm gonna put it in obscure, just like the grocery store. I want more of them. I want more horror taking place in malls, please. Next up, another top 3 favorite horror settings, locations in the world. The haunted house. This photo is from The Others, which is one of my favorite haunted house stories. Obviously, because it's in my top, take me there. I don't care that it's haunted. I will go there. We've already established this when I ranked all the haunted houses from horror movies, which I will link that video up here, that I would go to many, many haunted houses. I would not have an issue at all staying the night somewhere beautiful like that. In fact, that's a life goal of mine, is to go to a place like these movies where it's like kind of haunted, you know, just like beautiful old architecture. That's just really what I want. Anyway, but easily one of the best settings ever for a horror movie. It is overpopulated, I'm not gonna lie, but take me there, please. I want to go. The Carnival. This is a great location. Again, not very many, I think. Not enough, anyway. This is from Hellfest, this particular picture. That's a great movie, by the way. It's very, very cheesy, but it has Tony Todd in it, so I can't complain. I'm not sure where to put the Carnival. Maybe in too obscure. I think carnivals are really fun too, because you'd think it wouldn't be that scary because there's so many people there. So what's gonna happen, right? But then people sometimes just think it's part of the horror, especially in Hellfest when it's like based on Halloween. So they think people are just in costumes and whatnot. So there's, you know, that horror element. There is a book that I really enjoy that takes place around a really strange, bizarre carnival called Full Tilt by Neil Shusterman. He writes YA. I really love him. He's one of my favorite YA writers. Highly recommend that book if you want like carnival horror. That one is fantastic. It's a really, really short read too. So highly recommend that. Just while we were talking about carnivals. Moving on, let's do the small town. I will say I enjoy the small town type location for a horror movie, but I'm gonna put it in overpopulated. I think that tends, ironically, it's a small town with no population. It's an overpopulated. It's just not my favorite setting for a horror movie, and I think it is a little bit overdone at this point because I feel like every new movie, it's like they move to a small town and then there's like horror stuff going on there. Not necessarily about the town itself, but it's just like a creepy town. I don't know. I just feel like it's very oversaturated in the horror genre. Oh, and that photo there is from 30 Days of Night, which is an exception because I absolutely love that movie. Up next, we have The School. Underrated location. This, of course, is from Silent Hill. The whole movie doesn't take place in the school, but a chunk of the movie takes place in the school. I'm sure the video games have something to do with the school as well. I have yet to play them. I keep saying I'm going to, and I have not done that. The School is obscure, I think. I'm gonna put it in obscure. But if you have any like school horror recommendations, let me know, because I'm struggling to think of any others that like fully take place within the location of a school. So let me know if you can think of any. Underground. This involves caves, spelunking, the Paris catacombs, maybe from As Above, So Below. That would count. This, of course, is from The Descent. Already 100% know where this is going. Where would you put it? Exactly. Nightmare. I don't know what's worse to be really, really high up, or to be really, really underground, or to be really underwater, or in space. Not sure which of those four are actually worse. Any place that's like not comfortable, you know, to be in, no thank you. This movie specifically is very claustrophobic. We have tight caves and an as above so below. That is just a horrific nightmare. You could not pay me. You could not pay me to go spelunking or to go into a cave system that has yet to be discovered. No thank you, especially if I saw previous gear. Up next, we have the desert. I think the desert is an underrated location. This still is from Headcount, which I highly recommend. It takes place in Joshua Tree, which I love Joshua Tree, so I especially love the concept of this movie. I think it was such a well done, low budget movie. So definitely watch it. I'm debating between two obscure because I want more movies in desert, but also Nightmare because I hate the heat. I'm gonna put it in Nightmare because any desert situation is a no thank you for me. I love going to Joshua Tree, but of course there's resources there. If it was a horror movie where we're kind of stranded, no, absolutely not. I would die within a second. One time Ryan and I ran out of water on a hike and I was this close to asking strangers for their water. Like that, I was desperate. It hadn't even been that long. It was the mental block of, oh, I ran out of water. Now I'm gonna die if I don't ask these people for their water. So that's where it came from. So I, will panic in the desert. Next, we have The Hospital. This picture here is from Unsane, which is a really unique horror movie that is filmed completely on an iPhone 7, I believe. I'm not 100%, but filmed on an iPhone. How cool is that? Might be a little bit dated. I don't know if it ages well. I haven't watched it recently. But the hospital setting, I feel like is a little bit overdone in certain movies. We have Halloween that has a bunch of it take place in the newer one, Halloween Kills. A bunch of it takes place in the hospital. It's not my favorite setting for a horror movie. I'm not sure where to put it. I want to put it in Overpopulated. I'll put it there just because I don't know. It's not a nightmare situation because again, you have the comforts of anything happening to you. You have doctors there to take care of you in an emergency, but I can't think of movies where it 100% takes place in a hospital. There's always just scenes that take place. But I am kind of tired of seeing those scenes in horror movies because I think it's just kind of overdone at this point. Next, we have The Hotel. I'm not sure where to put this one. I haven't really thought about it. This picture is from 1408. Obviously The Shining too. Stephen King loves a good hotel story. But I prefer 1408 to The Shining. I know. We've covered how I feel about The Shining. But if you haven't watched 1408, please do. It's so good. John Cusack, great. Definitely horrific. It's really good. But the hotel itself, like movies taking place in hotels, I really don't know where to put this. Maybe I should have had a fifth category of like randoms because I, again, don't know where to put the hotel. I'm gonna say Overpopulated. I don't think it's too overpopulated. But if I did see another horror movie that took place in a hotel, I wouldn't be like excited about the location of it. You know what I mean? I guess The Innkeepers is another one that takes place in, that's an inn, like a little motel kind of situation, but a little overpopulated, I guess. I don't know. I feel like they're always going to be compared to The Shining. Anytime a movie takes place in a hotel, it's going to be reflective of The Shining. Like, how could it not be? They're gonna make some room number 237. Every horror movie seems to do that. So I think Overpopulated is a good choice. Next, we have The Lake. Now, I like lakes. I like lake houses. The Night House is a good lake one. It doesn't really revolve too much around the lake itself, but this picture is from Eden Lake. Very, very disturbing movie. But I like The Lake. I like The Lake. I don't think it's too obscure. I want to put it in there, but I'm going to say Take Me There. A little bit horrific, but if it's surrounded by like woods and, obviously it's nature, anything naturey, I'm really a fan of. So I'd say The Lake is a good one to go to. Maybe not in a horror setting. Like I'd probably still die, but it'd be pretty. I don't know. Next, we have Isolated Winter. I don't know why I said it like that. Isolated Winter. Why'd I say it like that too? Isolated Winter. This image is, of course, from The Lodge, which again, such a depressing movie. Like I loved this movie. It was just so heavy, so heavy. But obviously taking place in a cabin where they're kind of stranded in the middle of winter. I'm not a fan of winter. I'm from Northern California where we don't get snow where I live. No, we don't. I know Northern California does in areas. Not me. Nightmare. Nightmare. One time I drove to Portland, Oregon from where I live, and we took the back roads during a blizzard. And we almost died. Not even exaggerating. If we pulled over, we would have died. Or just like, you know, been miserable for days before we were found. But huge blizzard, we had to drive through all the way to Portland. So that was miserable. And I've been traumatized by snow ever since. And I refuse to drive in it now. So a little bit traumatized from the snow. I like the snow, but I can't handle a lot of it. On the other end of the spectrum, we have the beach. Now, I'm a little bit more accustomed to the beach. I think I've gone to the beach more than I've gone to the snow in my life. Maybe equally. I don't really go to either very often. The landscapers are here, so if you can hear them cutting down the bushes, I apologize, but we're gonna power through because I don't think you can hear them. I'm not sure. Anyway, this image from Love Old from M. Night Shyamalan. However, the beach itself is a nightmare situation for me because the beach scares me. The ocean scares me, more like. There's just so many things that can wash up onto the shore, onto the sand. Like while you're walking, you don't know if you're gonna step on something. That's just a setting that I would never want to be in a horror situation in. There's nowhere to go. The lake you can kind of swim in and hide in, maybe. I just think if we're comparing bodies of water, the lake is a little less horrifying than the beach. I don't want to swim out into the sea and then never to be found again. You know what I mean? Objectively, the beach and the ocean is scarier. Camping. This is, again, top 3. I'm pretty sure you can hear that. We're gonna take a little intermission. Okay, camping. Let's talk about camping. Like I was saying, top 3 horror settings. I guess that would make camping, the woods, and haunted house are my top 3 ever. I don't know. I can't say that confidently. No, I know another one. That's my favorite. Anyway, camping, take me there. I will do anything involving camping. I'm obsessed with camping. I don't do it enough. I don't know very many people who like camping as much as me, including my partner. So I wish I could go camping like 5 times a year. I would if I could. Horror-wise though, that's pretty horrific. Not gonna lie. If I had to be involved in a horror movie camping, it'd be in the woods though. So is that like very similar? I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't be that bad. I don't know, but I love horror movies set around camping. This picture specifically is from Shrooms. That's a great early 2000s movie. If you've not seen it, it's so cheesy, by the way. And there's a lot going on in that. Anyway, let's move on to war. There's not very many horror movies that take place around war. I feel like Dead Snow is a famous one that people, mention. This here is from Overlord, which is a very underrated war horror movie. I love it. It falls into multiple subgenres, this one, but specifically it takes place around war. So, I mean, that's a very much nightmare situation, right? Anything taking place during a war, that's horrifying. I'm gonna put it in too obscure because I wouldn't mind seeing more horror movies taking place around different wars. I think there's a lot in World War II. There's a lot of movies taking place around World War II, but it'd be interesting to see more take place around World War I. I feel like that's a very unpopular war for movies and especially horror movies to take place around. So I'd love to see more of that. Next we have what I call the game, the classic game, the ones where they're set in some kind of trap or game situation. This is from Cube, one of my favorite movies. Also, we have The Circle. That's a good one. Obviously, Saw. How could I talk about game related horror movies without talking about Saw? I think this is a great one, but I know where I'm going to put this. I think it's a great kind of setting for a horror movie. It's not my favorite or anything, but it is a nightmare situation. So I don't want to be involved in that at all. If I woke up in the Cube, I would just give up. I'd be like, well, this is my life now. I don't have the energy or the mental capacity to now figure out how to escape. Like, I'm just going to panic. So you would not want me involved in whatever game we're in. Like, no, just kill me, sacrifice me. That's okay. Next, we have Underwater. Of course, this picture is from Underwater, the movie. I hate that I'm filling up this category so much, but obviously there's going to be settings that are just nightmare fuel, and underwater is a place I don't want to be. You couldn't pay me to go to the Mariana Trench. no way, not going down under the ocean, maybe ever. Even scuba diving or snorkeling, nothing like that. I just don't think it's for me. Maybe one day, I don't want to say never, but the ocean terrifies me. Again, I don't know what's scarier, ocean or space. I think I'd rather go to space than in the ocean, because I know that there are horrific creatures in the ocean. I don't know if there's horrific creatures in space, maybe in other galaxies, on other planets. Not sure, but guaranteed gonna be underwater. Okay, we're getting down to the last couple. So up next we have the jungle. I don't think the jungle is that bad of a setting. Again, it's very similar to the woods. Probably a little bit too threatening as far as the creatures in there. They're unexpected, or, you know, you can't anticipate anything that you're going to stumble upon in the jungle. The woods, you can still, you know, stumble into some bears and whatever. But the jungle, you're going to find like deadly bugs and things. So that's a little bit horrific. So we're going to put it in nightmare. I know, I keep filling up this category, but tell me going into the jungle would not be horrifying if, you know, you were set in a horror movie. This picture is, of course, from Green Inferno. Very intense Eli Roth movie, very, very, very gory. But I really enjoyed that movie. I like that. Can I say enjoy? I like that movie. I've seen it multiple times, which is one of the only kind of more disturbing horror movies that I will actually rewatch. Okay, so now let's talk about the very last horror location. And this one, let me tell you, incredible. Underrated. Space. This still is from Sunshine. If you have never watched Sunshine from 2007, it is incredible. It is so beautiful. I mean, look at this image. Like, this is gorgeous to me. Obviously, we have Event Horizon is another good horror movie that takes place in space. But more than anything, I have to put in Too Obscure. I have to put in Take Me There. I don't want to be there necessarily. I think if I had an opportunity to go to space, I would. Like, if it was free or something, I would probably go to space, or if it was affordable, because I love space so much and I'm obsessed with space. So if I had a chance to go, even if it was on like a one-way ticket, I would probably go. I'm hoping by the time I'm like 80, that's an option and I can just go into space and then die out there. That'd be pretty cool. But I'd want my body to be returned to Earth so I can be put in the ground and like replenish the earth. Does that make sense? Like, I want my body to be put back. Anyway, we're just getting a little morbid now, talking about my death wish. But space horror is such an underrated genre. If you have any other recommendations or any other movies that you know of that take place in space, please tell me, because those are the only two that I can really think of that I've personally seen and love. But space is in my top 3. So if I had to pick a top 3 settings for horror movies, probably be haunted house, space, and the woods, because I think the woods is pretty similar to camping, because any kind of camping horror, it takes place in the woods. So woods, haunted house, space, those are my top 3 of all time. So there you have all of my horror movie locations ranked. I would love to hear your thoughts on all of these settings and locations, where you would rank them personally. Which ones are your favorites? I want to hear all of your top 3 favorite horror movie locations. If I'm missing any from this video, please leave it in a comment and I will try to rank them again, like in a comment response. I'll tell you where I would put them. If you can think of another category to put movies in as far as locations go, please let me know. But I hope you enjoyed this video and I will talk to you soon. Bye.